So the way that Stephen Hassan, who wrote the book, the reading that you're doing, the way he sort of tries to make sense of how do you brainwash someone, like he doesn't call it brainwashing, but how do you have such complete mind control over someone that they would sell all their belongings, leave home, live in a house, drop out of college, all of these things so dramatically. And what he came to discover is there's a series of techniques that cults use, whether they're religious cults, political cults, no matter what their foundation is, or financial cults, they have a certain set of techniques they all seem to use. And he calls it the bite model. So they they control your behavior, they control your access to information. Most importantly, they try to change your thinking process, that break you down, empty you out so they can fill you up with their own ideas. And of course, there's emotional manipulation. So let's go through each one. If this will let me. Okay, B is for behavior. So the first thing a lot of cults like to do is regulate your physical reality. So if they can get you on a retreat, or they can get you to live in the house, some kind of way to control everything that you're doing. So often where you live, some cults have, like, they wear different clothes to identify themselves as separate. Maybe it's about eating specific foods. Yeah, they like to control money. A lot of cults seem to have this thing about rejecting material wealth, and you should just give it all to them. Or unless it's like a multi-level marketing scheme, then you should give them the money in order to make money. So I gave an example over here. Apparently there's this cult of universal medicine where people would believe that if they gave up all their money, they would have a better reincarnation. So yeah, so he said, if you leave your child $10,000 and the kids spend that money to keep them in recognition, identification, excess, that holds you in contraction in your next life. If you invest wisely in your will, this will give you fire in your next life. So they're actually preying on your reincarnation. So don't leave your kids your money. You should leave us your money, because if you leave your kids your money, they'll stay stuck in that, and that'll mess up your next lifetime. Apparently a lot of kids have sued this, or adult children have sued this cult because their parents left huge fortunes to them, and none to this cult and none to them. One way that cults work to affect you, and maybe this is how school works as well, but they keep you busy. Busy, busy, busy. So you're off-centered. You never have time to reflect. You're always doing something. They get you going here and there and go to this process and that process, so that you don't find that you're centered. Now this one is very personal to me, because this is one that my abuser used all the time: sleep deprivation. So sleep deprivation, I don't know if you've ever read this before, but 72 hours without sleep, you can be labeled like insane, right? So if you don't sleep, it'll lower your judgment, memory, coordination. By day 1 or 2, you start having hallucinations. I don't know if you've ever stayed up over 24 hours before, but it really, really impacts your ability to think about things and to function. And it gives you a bipolar mood. So they, if you're sleep deprived, you'll get adrenaline running to like try to keep all the systems running. And then there'll be a crash that's like a complete despair. And then the cult will come in and sort of help you with that despair. And remember the high. So what my abuser would do was he would want something from me that I was insistent that he no, and I would say no. And people say, why don't you say no? Why didn't you leave? And let's say it's 10 o'clock at night, and he said, I want to have that. And I say no. And then he stays up like, why can't I? What's wrong? Why have you changed? Who's in your life? Who's been talking to you? Why is this happening? Don't you care about me? Do you know what my life has been like? And on and on and on and on and on. And I have an 8 o'clock class, and I was in college. And by 6 a.m. I'd be like, I need those 2 hours or I'm going to die. So fine, you can have it. And this would go on. And it was just, you didn't think each one was a mind control, but it was just like, it's just easier to go along with it until, bam, you're caught up in it. They also, cults will control your interpersonal life. So at first, when you join a cult, you're never alone. You're always in a group. You always have like a handler or someone around you. Again, so you can't think straight. One cult person who worked in a cult admitted that they broke people into the idea of sheeps and goats. So sheep are the one that, yeah, they're going to follow this. We've got them. And goats are the one going, wait a minute, what does this mean? And questioning stuff. So often what they do is they'd split off the goats from the sheep, and either try to neutralize the goats, send them home, or convert them, but basically keep them away from raising questions to the sheep so that they could get them. And they even, these are their terms. So this isn't like, are they accidentally like mind controlling people? No, this is intentional. And then of course, being physically separated from outsiders. A lot of places have a lot of cult places. I don't know why I'm using big terms. So like Scientology and other cults have this belief of disconnecting from non-believers. So you don't want to be around toxic people in your life. I was told in Amway that I didn't want to be around people who didn't see my vision. So if people didn't want to buy into my business, and if people had negative things to say about what I was doing, it's because they were trying to bring me down, and positive thinking is the way it goes. And so I really need to cut off the friendships and relationships with people who want to stay stuck in their own poverty. So these are ways that they get you to sort of not talk to your friends, not talk to your family, not be connected to sort of outside people.